Hello, my name is Jenna Paige, and this is a presentation on Alfred Eisenstaedt. This is a quote from Eisenstaedt himself, which really summarizes the techniques he used to produce his photograph. Eisenstaedt was a photojournalist who liked to be simple and uncomplicated. Eisenstaedt liked to use lightweight and easy-to-use 35mm Leica cameras. What made his photographs so interesting was that he used only natural lighting in his photos. Eisenstaedt was born on December 6, 1898 in West Prussia, which is now Poland. His interest in photography started when he was a child. By the age of 14, he had received his first camera and was able to begin taking photographs of his own. Later he enlisted in the German army during World War I and was badly wounded. Having injuries in both legs had left him quite a bit of free time. This was the point where his interest in photography had really taken off. Later, he passed away at age 96 on August 23, 1995. And all these photographs are from his Life magazine, some being, or his time at Life magazine, some of them being covers, and some of them just being stories in the magazine itself. Eisenstaedt began his career in 1929 when he was hired by the Associated Press in Germany. From the start, he was working full-time. After a very short time, he was said to be a photographer extraordinaire. A few years later, he went on to photograph a meeting between Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini in Italy. Also, he has captured photographs of the beginning years of the Holocaust. Because Hitler's ruling was taking over so much of Germany, Eisenstaedt's family made a decision to immigrate to the United States. Eisenstaedt had already had his name out that he was an excellent photographer. So shortly after he came to the United States, he was made an offer by the founder of Life magazine, Henry Luce, to be one of the company's original staff members. He had over 90 covers in Life magazine and more than 2,500 photo series published. And lastly, I would like to discuss this photograph of VJ Day in Times Square. This photograph was taken on August 14th, 1945, just after Japan had surrendered to the United States, which had brought an end to World War II. The photograph was taken of an American sailor kissing a nurse and expressing his excitement for the end of the war. Everybody kind of during this time period was out on the streets because that was, at this time period, was a way of communicating. People didn't have phones and all that kind of stuff, so everybody kind of, to get the word around, went on the streets, and all the sailors had came, and it was just a good time for them. What is interesting about the photograph is that Eisenstaedt had just been roaming around on the streets. It wasn't a planned or staged event, and he saw this and he thought it would make a great photograph. So he quickly snapped 4 shots, and this one in particular is the one that's very famous now. It ended up being on the cover of Life magazine, and little did he know the photograph soon would become iconic. And in terms of significance of Alfred Eisenstaedt, he was a self-taught photographer. He, at a young age, had an interest in photography, like I had mentioned before. His uncle actually was the one who gave him the camera at 14 years old, and he just kind of took photographs of anything, that he found interesting to himself. and that was just kind of his hobby as a child. And later he went into the war, and then after the war, he, like I mentioned before, had been injured and just had a lot of time, so he figured now would be a good time for him to take on his interest in photography again and see where he could go with that. And he made a name for himself when he was working for the Associated Press, which then later benefited helping him get a job at Lifestyle magazine, because the owner, who had just started a company um, right after he had moved to the United States, he knew knew who Alfred Eisenstaedt was and offered him a job, which he then took. And he was known for using a small handheld portable 35mm Leica camera, which was unusual for photographers, because they were not generally used for that kind of photography. They were used for landscape photography. And the last thing that really stood out was his use for natural lighting instead of flash lighting. This was also very uncommon for the type of photography that Eisenstaedt did.